What up,
Good evening,
everyone?
Miami
Welcome,
Hurricanes
guys.
fans.
You got it. Dave,
It's
take it
the
away.
Six Rings Kane show. Got a little mixed up there on the intro. What's going on? It's Dave Eversole. We got Paul Austria, Danny Gillette. Special guest joining the show, Stefan Adams with Kane's Insight, and Jakari Givens as well. We're going to break down everything going on in the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to talk NC State, and we're going to also talk the latest recruiting news. We know we got a lot going on. Stefan's going to have some great info for us on that. So we're going to start here with Paul Austria, going to break down NC State. It was a big win, 44-41 for the Canes. De'Aaron King, obviously, with 5 touchdowns passing. Paul, what are your thoughts on King and the offense and how they were able to just keep putting up points and put the final dagger in NC State in a tough game?
Man, Heisman-esque. Really couldn't ask for more from King that night. 430 yards, 5 touchdowns, 105 yards on the ground. It was nice to see how, NC State kind of dared him to go deep. This deep ball has kind of been iffy this year, especially, and to just really, to really experience adversity for the first time this season. That wasn't Clemson, and to bounce back, and even just the defense in general. The defense really stepped up. You saw the numbers; they outgained NC State 213-6 in the fourth quarter. It kind of just seemed like there was just a light switch that defense activated that quarter, and it really just put the game away for Miami and took less pressure off the offense. You saw guys like Mark Pope, D. Wiggins, Mike Harley all step up. It was just nice to see the receivers have a great game collectively as well. And yeah, it was a really good win. I don't know where Dave went. But Stefan, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So like where we stand right now as a team. They're 6-1, obviously. What are your thoughts on the team right now, midway through the season?
Man, honestly, those first 4 wins of the year, to their credit, Miami's avoided those close games in the last quarter. They had won all their games by double digits up to that point. So it kind of made me curious to see what would happen when Miami gets into these type of situations, because just in the past we've always seen with them just very, very tentative at the end of the game. Not a lot of confidence that they can hold up and pull out tough wins, and you see them kind of crumble in those pressure moments. So you just wanted to see if this team would be a little bit different from those past versions of Miami. And honestly, these past 2 wins, they've been able to shake off bad plays made earlier in the game, reset, and show that mettle necessary to pull out those close wins, make those plays when they matter most. So honestly, more than the first 4 wins of the season, I think we've learned much, much more about this team during the past 2 games. And I mean, it doesn't mean that obviously mistakes shouldn't be completely ignored or overlooked, but I really think it's a net positive for Manny Diaz and his staff to kind of know that this team's matured from last year, and they can have some confidence in their guys to go out, got out a win late in the game. And honestly, bonus points for the Kings finally getting it done off a bye too.
For sure. And I think that, like you mentioned, leadership as well. I think there was
Can you guys hear me okay?
kind of a little scratchy. We could
little
tell
bit,
you're talking. But yeah, like I feel like one of the biggest differences this year.
I apologize. I'm probably gonna get off, guys.
You do your thing, man.
No
The
worries.
biggest difference I think this year is leadership as well. And I think it's nice to have De'Aaron King as a leader. I think, I guess we're not gonna name names from last year.
We could.
It's funny because I remember going to the 2018 spring game with you, and we watched last year's QB. We both offered our thoughts, and I thought, like, man, like this guy's gonna be great. He has a good arm, and we kind of find out what happens when he's in the driver's seat. He kind of wasn't the leader that Miami needed.
You can't place that all on him though. He didn't have the offensive line that this team has.
Yeah.
Manny Diaz has improved as a head coach as well.
Oh yeah.
Year 2 outside of that, so I felt like Jaron Williams could have been more successful had he had a better structure like they have this year. I think it's just a total team effort that the structure is there with older, mature players, But I think that Williams could have been doing the same thing King is doing. Right now, it's just King has had his lumps in college already, you know what I mean? He's already done everything. He's won. He's lost. So it's just easier to be mature when you know to be even keel. When you know that not to get too high, not to get too low. And coming from Houston, well, he knows when he plays bigger teams, like they were outmatched, so it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you that I agree with you that too. I mean, the O line was not that great. I mean, you guys, we started a freshman 250 on a guy who's a 2-star recruit at left tackle for the first game of the season against UF of all games. But also, Stefan, I kind of want to get your thoughts on the defense as well, because for the first 3 quarters, it seemed like NC State was kind of getting almost everything they wanted. We kind of had a so-so game from the secondary as well. So, what are your thoughts on the defense? What do you think could they do moving forward? I don't know if you have any ins or things you've heard, but do you think the defense is in a good spot right now?
Yeah, there's a lot there. I mean, with the defense, I think there's just something missing with them, at least compared to past Miami defense that we've seen in this Manny Diaz era. And, it's tough because Miami's really relied so long on that defense to bail out that terrible offense we've seen in recent years. But I don't know. To me, at this point, it's clear there's that X factor that's missing from that unit. Because back in, the past few years, even last year, there was always something that kind of defined those defenses and had that identity away from something for them to fall off or hang their hat on, when something all else fails, when things were going wrong, whether it was just like creating those havoc plays in the backfield with the tackles for loss and the sacks or all the turnover wizardry they were pulling out. Or they've had some great secondaries too, shutting down passing attacks. They've had some great run defenses, and I'm really not seeing any of that in a very strong way. At least there's no elite part of this defense. I mean, 7 games into the season now, so it's fair to wonder if that's really going to ever show up. So I mean, it's pretty inconsistent outfit. You're seeing a lot of blown plays, blown coverages. Run fits, not really getting to that spot where you need to be quick enough, a lot of mental errors. And it's just, you're not seeing those huge impact plays, whether it's be turnovers or big sacks or big tackles for loss. I mean, you've seen a couple here and there, but they haven't been at those consistently elite levels like they have in the past years. So right now, I think a lot of blame is going on Blake Baker, at least from the fan base perspective. And I think that's a little bit misplaced because Manny's a lot more involved than people realize in this defense, and his fingerprints are all over it, and it's still really his defense. So to me, it really comes down to the recruiting at linebacker, which was Manny's responsibility as defensive coordinator over the past, before he became head coach. That was his primary responsibility. And you see the weaknesses that they had recruiting linebackers showing up now without Quarterman and Pinckney. And you're really seeing, that weakness at the second level. And I think that's the biggest key area. But, things that, they could hopefully improve on and, going forward is just, just a lot less mental errors and hopefully maybe giving some younger players some playing time, especially at linebacker. I want to see more of Sam Brooks, want to see more of Corey Flagg, and, just maybe some better game plan or adjustments in game to kind of combat what was going on. Because like you mentioned, Paul, like NC State, they had a great first 3 quarters, but finally Miami figured out and completely shut them down. And they only had 6 yards in the last quarter, but they had over 400 through the first 3. So at that point, it was kind of too little, too late. The damage already kind of been done. So it's tough. This team lost their best player, Gregory Rousseau, a month before the season started. So that's tough it's going to be tough for any team. And don't get me wrong, the defense hasn't been terrible or anything. I'm not on that train or anything like that. They still have some decent stats, and there's a couple standout players, especially Bubba Bolden. I love what I've seen from him. Got even guys in the interior, Nesta Silvera, Harrison Hunt. Really, I love what I've seen from them. Roche on the edge. But, ultimately, you just kind of expect more from this UM defense. And that's what we've come to see in these past few years. And that's what people are wanting back.
Agreed. And I think I know when Manny hired Blake Baker as defensive coordinator, he kind of described him as kind of like an extension of himself. So you're not don't expect to miss much from a Manny Diaz defense. I just find it weird just because, like you mentioned, that there's it is not it's not the same pizzazz, or it's not the same highlight plays, or not as much, I mean, as like let's say 2018, even 2019, where they had the number one defense. And I mean, aside from probably linebacker, personnel, speaking from personnel wise, it's pretty much very similar, pretty much similar personnel. I mean, you still have two stout defensive ends on the edge in Phillips and Roche, and it's good to see Nesta improving. But yeah, I guess I always wondered if Diaz really was calling the plays in that fourth quarter. I don't know if you. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious, but aside from that, let's move on, because big news came out of Miami yesterday with recruiting, with three-star cornerback Tim Burns decommitting, and we all saw that. We all saw his note on Twitter that he tweeted out. But it's funny because I think 5 minutes after I saw Burns' tweet, I went on the boards at Kane's Insight, and I found someone that copied and pasted what Tim's mom put on Facebook, because I guess a bunch of people were bashing Tim. I mean, I don't know why they would. I mean, the kid has to do what's best for him. But I'm actually asking on behalf of Jazz. What when I say so, where do we go from here? In terms of recruiting cornerback, now that we basically have no cornerbacks committed if you move Curtis to receiver?
Yeah, it's tough what's going on at corner right now. There's no doubt they're in a bad spot. The only thing I would question with the Tim Burns thing is the timing of it, because he's been committed for over two years now. It's about 2.5 years. But I don't think he's a must-take player or anything like that. He's got that ceiling of a solid nickel guy in the slot, but as an outside guy, it's hard to see him really sticking on that outside full time as a true number one corner. And right now, where the spot Miami's in at corner, they have to get true number one guys, and they cannot afford to miss on any guys that they don't truly like or aren't truly in love with. So I'm on board with, they're not truly in love with a kid. They can't take him in this class. And especially with so few spots and winning the way they are, in theory, you would have a lot more players wanting to come in and jump on board. No reason to me to waste a spot on a kid that you don't really like, just because he's a local guy, because he's tied in with the Northwestern teammates and all that jazz. But, just going forward with corner, they're going to have to hope for a late flip, and we've seen that. They've gotten lucky the past couple of years. Guys like Isaiah Dunston fell into their lap in the second cycle in February. A guy like Christian Williams fell into their lap, and also after the first signing day and the second signing period. So they've actually been able to get pretty lucky, those two 4-star kids. And you got to hope. You don't want to be in the position where you have to hope for that, going into that second signing period, but it's just tough, where they are right now. They got that offer out to the new Texas kid, blanking on his name right now, but yeah, he seems like a solid prospect. He improved a ton from junior to senior year. So it wasn't surprising to me that he didn't have any offers after his junior year. You can really see the improvement going from last year to this year. So, I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, how much is he going to blow up? You always see kids like, late in the cycle after their senior tape goes around, you always see kids like that blow up. So, how big is he going to go? Could he get like Alabama? Could he get Georgia? If it comes to that, it's tough to see him ending up at Miami. But, you never know. I think you got to stay on him and see what happens. Maybe it's not the most likely scenario he ends up here, but there's not a lot of options out there right now. A lot of kids have committed early, and you're still waiting to see what you can do at corner. I mean, a lot of the offers they've had out, I've heard they're trying to get back in touch with McBurrows from St. Thomas. So that's something to watch out for going in the future. And we'll just have to see. I mean, there's we just offered the Texas kid, and there could be more kids like that develop late, and you see Miami get in on right now. But there's a good chance, whoever ends up committed, we don't even know their names yet. We're not even recruiting them technically right now. So at corner, and corner is just so key this year to actually you got to hit on the kids that you end up taking, because of what the situation with the position on the roster right now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And
I
think
just think if they didn't love Burns in the beginning, they shouldn't have offered him in the first place. Because, like I said, it looks
Exactly.
it looked kind of bad on the program. You pull a late offer like that, but I'm more so the proponent. I think Burns has the ability to be a number one corner. I think that's up to coaching and development. Miami hasn't developed a lot of corners lately, so that's on coaching. So I just think Miami has to. I agree with hit on the prospects they go after, but if it's a local kid and they have some talent, you should be able to develop those guys into the next level of corner or the next level of player. I'm sorry.
agreed. And I think a lot can be said about the coaching and recruiting of Mike Rumph over the past few years, and he's caught a lot of flack. I'll admit some of it's unfair for Rumph. I feel like Rumph has been a decent guy. It is really sad to see this depth kind of thinning at corner. I mean, I think even Corey Couch mentioned today that he was close to Christian Williams, and he was surprised that he kind of left without really saying anything. And he said he was trying to get in contact with him, but he hasn't really said much. So man, it's a tough situation, But
yeah, but Manny Diaz dropped the ball there because he shouldn't have never said anything about that kid or like about the comment he made about competing.
yeah,
Should have made that comment just because it's not needed. You have to do what's best for you at the end of the day in this game of college football now. Obviously, it's new, and high school football has changed too. These kids can transfer as many times as they want. And just like in college, there's really no penalty for them guys going and transferring. So I just think when a kid does leave your program, you leave it as is. It happens. Maybe they don't have the best relationship with a coach, but I don't know how talented the kid Christian Williams was supposed to be. So I won't know, but I think Miami does have to do something about the cornerback position because they're lacking right now.
Agreed. Okay, so last thing, Stefan, I'm gonna give you 3 names.
Yeah,
I want to gauge how realistic Miami's chances are with them. So first off, let's start off with Jake Garcia. Does Miami have what are you feeling right now with Garcia?
It's tough with him because you see a lot of there's some people it's kind of like a 50-50 deal, and I wouldn't even say 50-50, more like 70-30 of people thinking he'll stick with USC, but there is a smaller percentage of people that do think will flip to Miami at some point. Me personally, I don't think it's going to happen. It's just been so long at this point, and they've been recruiting him for so long. It's just tough for me to see it. But honestly, with the way Miami's been recruiting, I've been wrong a few times already this cycle. So it wouldn't be. It's a situation where you got to keep on him, and there's no way you give up on him. I'm not saying that. But I would say it's less likely, than more likely that he ends up in the class. So it's just a situation that'll keep developing. And of course, there's no reason to not stay on him until he says no for sure. There's no reason to stop recruiting him, I think.
Okay, another one for me, and I think I kind of feel like Miami has a bigger chance of people kind of realize. Terrence Lewis. Please tell me what you know about Lewis.
Yeah, there's a lot about out there about him, and it's tough to because I don't want to say too much because a lot of it is his own personal life, and I don't want to get too much into his own personal stuff going on. But he's had some tough situations, family wise and stuff like that, and he originally was committed to Tennessee, and then there was this little period maybe during the summer where he started getting interested in Miami again. And, Miami had a situation where, they had to make a decision of where should we take him, should we not take him. And there was a kind of a whole discussion with that because of the off the field issues. And, it was just like a situation where I don't think they wanted to take him at that point. And that kind of whole thing fizzled out of his interest in Miami. And then I guess it was about a month ago, a lot of local coaches have been, hyping him up to the coaches and trying to vouch for him to the Miami staff that this is a good kid and he's going to make up for, his past mistakes and he's not a troublemaker and things like that. He's really doing the right things right now. So Miami, had a little bit of change of heart. Now they're trying to get back in contact with him, and it seems like he's more sticking with Tennessee. So
That's
it's a kid that
Central,
is
right?
what's that?
Yeah, Central.
Yeah, he's just a kid that of course, in recruiting, these are 16, 17, 8-year-old kids. They change their mind pretty often. He's already shown that he is willing to go back and forth, change his mind depending on the day. So I wouldn't, again, nothing I can rule out with him whatsoever. And he's expressed interest in wanting to stay home. He's got a lot of local coaches that are in his corner, pushing him to Miami and vouching for him to the Miami coaches. And in the past, all it was about was convincing the Miami coaches. So now the Miami coaches are on board. We'll see if they can make that final push, in this past month or this next month.
Okay. Dang. That is I remember hearing about him transferring to Chaminade in the spring, and then something happened there. Ended up going to.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really take certain coaches' word from him because these, again. I always say this, I coach in high school. I always say when a recruiter comes and asks me a question, I always tell them, hey, he's a child. He's going to do child things. Is he the most mature? No. Is he immature? No, but he's in between. So I think coaches should do a better job of not spoiling some of these kids' future by the things they're saying. Just they're children. They're going to make mistakes. Should we punish them for that at 16 years old? No. I just think it's a better way to go about it. I don't know the Terrence Lewis kid. I don't know what type of attitude he has. It may be an attitude, but every kid responds differently in different situations. So he can go to the University of Miami and not ever get in trouble in his life. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think we should keep it at a minimum because these are children, like Stefan just alluded to, and they change their minds frequently, just like their attitudes change frequently.
Oh, for sure. And we've heard about many recruiting stories in the past about kids going back and forth a lot. We've heard about kids that made 4 commitments, and one in their recruitment. So can't blame them. They're always going to try to do what's best for them. Okay, so one last name that I'm going to throw to you, and I actually just changed it because I had a different third name I want to ask you about. But
you can go for it if you want to.
We'll do 2 more. But one interesting one that popped up because we had Gabby Ria from 24/7 Sports, I think 2 weeks ago, and he mentioned this name as well, and he just decommitted from Minnesota, I believe, and that's Austin Barber, the lineman out of Jacksonville. And there's been kind of a lot of smoke with him talking to Miami. He's been talking to coaches a lot. What are your thoughts on his recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, I just heard about him kind of recently too. It's still kind of in the early stages with him. It's tough to say one way or the other right now. I think that's more of one where the relationship is still being built, and you want to see how that will play out going forward. But I mean, of course, he seems to like Miami in the early going. And I think if they keep on him, they'll be able to put themselves in a position to make, to pull that commitment. Miami has, I'm trying to think how to say it, how to word it, but they've kind of always gotten into positions where they like a kid, they'll start recruiting them, and then they'll drop contact. And then, they're very picky and choosy, and especially they should be in this cycle right now with 2021. With how few spots are left, and with the way they're playing right now, there's going to be a lot of kids that want in. They got to make sure they use those spots wisely. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But again, it's still real early there, and it's tough to say one way or the other.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've all had our different thoughts on Miami's O-line lately, or the past 2 or 3 years, and it's been very messy. Okay, so last one. I've already kept you past your desired time frame here, but okay, last one. This one's a long shot, but Miami's in his top 5, and he's a mammoth, and that's Mason Smith.
Yeah.
Does Miami have a realistic chance with Smith?
I would say no. A lot of those kids, they put Miami in their top 5 or top 7 or top 8 or whatever, and because it's just it's nice to have that logo in there. But again, they've pulled kids that I just did not. Kids like James Williams and Leonard Taylor. If you would have asked me in March, I've talked to these kids. I've interviewed them. I've been at their camps, at their games. If you would have asked me back then, I would say no way. Just the way they act and the way they talk about Miami, it's not that type of vibe they were giving off that they're going to end up at Miami. And plus, with all those top teams after them, it's just so tough, especially when you're not winning in that position Miami was in back in the spring. So just the way they've recruited is insane this cycle, and a lot to do with that has to be is definitely COVID. A lot of parents want their kids closer to home. That's been a big theme of that we've seen and people I've talked to. But with Smith, obviously he's not an in-state kid, so you don't have that factor there. There's been a lot of smoke to LSU, of course, and they don't usually lose top kids that they really want from that state. So it'll be tough. But I'll just keep saying it's never crazy to put something past Miami right now the way they've been recruiting, but that's probably the least likely of all those names for sure. Again, it's just the way they've been recruiting in this cycle. I just have to stress, like, there's just so little spots, and you got to pick and choose. But that's definitely a kid you take no matter what, whatever the situation, you make a spot for sure.
Agreed. I think I feel like if guys like Smith, Smith and Lewis, I think you got to make space for them. They're just too elite of talents to really turn down. It's kind of crazy how, at least like looking back a year ago and Miami having this good of a recruiting class, especially so South Florida focused and based. I mean, I know 2021 is already a South Florida heavy class, but they've been able to capitalize on almost all the guys they've wanted. Is amazing. And I feel like, Diaz kind of pulling in this kind of class is huge for the program, for the future of the program, especially. I mean, we won't see college football playoff success happen overnight, but it's just kind of good to see the foundation kind of starting to be set for the next few years. But thank you again, Stefan.
Absolutely, man.
Loved having you. We definitely need to catch up one of these days.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Stefan. I appreciate it, man. Sorry, I got on late. Traffic was terrible for me today, man. I appreciate it though.
Yeah, no worries, man. Anytime I have time, I'd love to come on. You guys just let me up and let me know.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man. Got you, man. Appreciate it.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you again.
Yeah. So what did I miss? just
Missed,
about everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you didn't. Danny has a great haircut. Let's just put that out there. I wanted to.
Yeah, look at
Danny's
that.
looking sharp right now.
Thank you. I did it myself. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, so
Really?
it means a lot. Yeah, it means a
Nice,
lot.
man. Props to Danny.
Solid,
Danny
man.
the barber.
Multifaceted.
So just real quick, what did he say on the Tim Burns Jr. situation? Where we go from there? What did he say on that? Or what the situation was? Did he say he was going to Ole Miss?
So
Do we want to start that right now?
No.
we have 2 minutes. You guys have 2 minutes.
Obviously, I missed it. No. We're gonna go on a little bit longer. If that's all right.
Okay.
I think we're good. Which is good.
If the program, like he was saying that Miami wasn't for sure on him, and they didn't like him as much, then yes, he does need to go to a school that likes him. So I disagree with that. They shouldn't offer him if they didn't like him from the jump. It's a waste of an offer. I mean, we could have gave that to another kid who probably committed somewhere else because they didn't.
Now you're late in the game, right? Now you're late in the game. So did he say there was any other kids aside from like the Covingtons and the Markevius Browns that we were looking at corner?
He did mention the McBurrows kid from St. Thomas.
Yeah, they said they're trying to get back in contact with him.
I think it's Gene McBurrows. I think his name was. I haven't really been able to catch up with him.
I mean, for the question being asked, I did think Miami made a mistake. Cause
I agree. I'm with you, Jock. I agree with you, man. I think they made a mistake.
They were saying that the kid, because Stefan was saying that the kid doesn't have number one corner ability, but that comes down to coaching. These kids aren't coming to college. You have out of every recruiting class, you probably have 5 or 6 that you'd be like, well, damn, he really don't need to play college football because he's ready. Last year you had Stingley Jr. at corner, like he was ready, like he looks like the part. But you develop those guys into number one guys. Like Jair Alexander did not go to Louisville as an NFL corner. He got developed, and now he's one of the best in the NFL. So that's coaching to me, and I just feel like Miami hasn't done a poor job over the last couple of years developing these corners and safeties. Safeties not really because you did have Jaquan, Dion, so I safeties, but the corners have been terrible over the last couple of years. I was hurt that the kid number 12 got hurt because I really thought he was.
I think he was the real deal, Malik Young.
Yeah. Malik Young, I thought he was going to be really good.
And that's the same way I felt about Amon Richards. I think Amon Richards was going to be, an All-American type of wide receiver if it wasn't for him getting hurt. And that happens.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get drafted in the top 10, though.
Oh yeah, I mean that was for sure. So it's just a shame. Obviously you guys talked a lot about it. I don't want to kind of go over it again for the people that might be watching. But I guess what I want to do is something that we didn't do last week, really, because we got caught up in everything else. But maybe do some mid-season grades. I don't know if you guys have done that yet, or kind of talked about what we've seen throughout the past 6 or 7 games, position by position. I guess we go. We can split it up offense and defense, but then maybe give some quick kind of rundowns on position by position if you want, Jock. I mean, I'd love to start on the defensive side because that's kind of the sore spot right now. With how many points we gave up last week, they kind of looked a little bit like Swiss cheese at times in the running game. So the question is Jock, I guess we can start from a defense as a whole, and then kind of break down for me what you think about the secondary position, really.
As a defense as a whole, I would give Miami probably a B+. Let's look at it. They have made stops when they needed to in the games they have won. They've held opponents. I think they're holding opponents to 23 points a game. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, it was about 23.
Yeah, it was like at 18, right? And then they gave up to 34.
It was at 23 last time I checked. But Miami's done a fairly good job there. The defense as a whole has been fine. I mean, you're winning games. They made stops when it mattered. The defensive line has been great. Now we transition to the secondary. When we're talking about the safety position, I would give the safety position an A+ because I feel like Gervin Hall has had good games. Bubba Bolden has been the best defensive player we had all season, in my opinion, the most consistent. The cornerback position, I'll give a C+, just because they've had their moments, but they also have made some plays too. DJ Ivy came up with a big grade for a big play against NC State. Al Blaze has made his plays as well. So I'm not gonna really downgrade the secondary, but as a whole, it's a B+. The only thing I would like to see is more turnovers created. And I'm sorry, Bubba Bolden, I'm spotting you, but I gotta give Gilbert Frierson some credit because he's been playing very well. So him and Bubba Bolden. I think it was Phillips and Nestor early in the season. Now you're starting to see the back 7 play a lot better with Bolden, Frierson. Bradley Jennings has had his moments. Sam Brooks, I want to see more of. I want to see more Corey Flagg. Those guys have made some plays when they have been in, but as an overall whole, I'll give them a B+. I'm not gonna really downgrade that defense. They're 6-1, and they have a chance to win out. They have made the plays they needed to be made. This is college football now. They're gonna score points. I know. We're looking at a Clemson team that people thought the defense was all world. It gave up 47 points to a Notre Dame team that I don't think is that great on offense. But it's just the way of football now. Like Nick Saban says, it's just who has the best offense and who can get occasional stops on defense.
Yeah, it's not about defense winning championships anymore. It's definitely the offense, especially in college football, right? More than anything else. But you're seeing that, and you know what, Jock, you bring up a good point, man. This is college football. You're going to get into shootouts no matter how good you are, right? We obviously saw with Clemson and Notre Dame. You're going to get into shootouts sometimes, and things are going to happen. And, of course, we're caught up in the moment sometimes where you get kind of frustrated that, maybe a team runs back 100-yard kick return. Like, what the hell are you going to do about that?
When you think about it, you know how much faith it took for Manny Diaz to have in his defense to kick the field goal there and say, you know what, we're gonna stop them and get the ball back and score. So
Yeah,
that took
that
a
was
lot
huge.
of that took a lot of a lot of like balls to say that, because that game could have easily, we could have been talking about today, like why didn't he go for it at that moment and stuff
Right.
like that. But the defense made a stop and got the ball, and De'Aaron King did his thing.
Yeah, look, and what we just posted up there, Jared Harrison Hunt with leading the team with 3 sacks. I definitely want to see more sacks and Jock, like you said, more turnovers, right? That's the thing I think that we're lacking most from this Miami Hurricanes defense is the lack of turnovers, right? We're kind of accustomed to seeing, the whole hype with the turnover chain and the turnovers and at least 2 or 3 a game. We're not seeing that right now. They do need to get back to doing that because
They're
the
playing
game.
good defense though. So
They are, but they have to create more turnovers. I think as you get later on in the season because the games start becoming tougher, right? It's crunch time now, right? And a lot of the players mentioned it. Now is when the teams
they're
start to
gonna
start.
need something this weekend against Virginia Tech.
Absolutely.
I will say that because you're gonna probably be playing a fired up Virginia Tech team. They're on the moment. I
Coming
still
off a
don't
loss
understand.
to Liberty, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't understand how this team is favored against Miami. So
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't, especially that Khalil Herbert might not even play because he has a hamstring issue. That's another thing. Like, how is this team? Yeah, I don't know. Understand what Vegas, is kind of looking at there with the giving them a 2.5 point favorite. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. But whatever. Again, I'm not a gambler, so I don't care. But it does bother me a little bit to see that the number 9 team in the country is an underdog against an unranked team who just lost to Liberty. Just doesn't make any sense. Regardless of whether you're at home or on the road, still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me this week, to be honest, is Hayden Hooker, because Miami has struggled a little bit with the running quarterback. But I don't see. I like I said, closing my eyes right now. If you look at teams comparable to comparable right now, Miami's the clear better team, and I don't even understand why Virginia Tech is favored at that point.
I agree. But let's move it over to the offensive side. And Danny, and I want to start off with you. The offense has shown glimpses of an absolute monster, right? Especially this past weekend against Louisville, against FSU. They stumbled a little bit against Virginia and against who was the other team that they only scored 31 points on? Oh, Pitt, right? And UAB at the beginning, kind of a pass as the first game of the season. But talk to me a little bit about what you think as an overall grade for the offense and where, what your grades are position by position.
Well, for the overall offense, I would give them probably a B minus. We've seen some positions that have really struggled to be consistent, and then we've seen other, areas of the offense that have, been consistent the entire season. That one particular area I'm referring to is the tight ends. I mean, we talked about coming into the season how Brevin Jordan could be a monster target and he could put up all sorts of numbers and this, that, and the other thing, and he has. I mean, he, even though he's hurt, he's still been a huge impact, made a huge impact for Miami this season, and so too has Will Mallory. I mean, when we talk about the struggles that the wide receivers have had at points this season, we've always said, okay, well, at least we have the tight ends. Now, on the point of the wide receivers, I would probably give them a C plus because they really did struggle quite mightily in the first half of the season. But now we're seeing guys like Mike Harley really kind of step up and be the receiver that we know he can be. And this is going to be huge for Miami moving forward because of the schedule that they have. And yes, they're ninth in the country, but I can bet that these next couple of opponents have Miami circled on their calendar, ready to knock them off the ninth spot. So it's definitely going to be more of a challenge.
Oh yeah.
As far as the running backs are concerned, I would probably give them C plus for right now. I mean, there's some games that they've showed up, and others where they've struggled. hopefully they can get some sort of consistency going. But running back is a position where I would like to see more out of them, whether it's play calling, whether it's just not getting production, whether it's not getting consistency. The running back position has has performed well in spurts, but they haven't really delivered that whole performance throughout the entire season. And hopefully they can kind of get consistency here.
Well,
Paul,
to add to
go ahead.
your point, Danny, it feels like this team has played in spurts all over the field. Like the
Yeah.
first game of the season, it's been the backs. The second game against Louisville was the big plays. The third game against FSU was probably the most complete game they had. Then it's been, like the last 2 weeks, we've been crying about the receivers, but the receivers have carried the team. So it's just been, and just like early in the season, the defensive line was carrying the team. Bradley Jennings was having their moments. Now the secondary and with Frierson and Bubba Bolden in particular are making big plays. DJ Ivy, Couch. So I just feel like this team has played in spurts across
It's always
the board,
something.
across the season, like different groups. And that's just a testament to the coaching staff. And also, we should get a coaching staff on how they handle the COVID situation. Miami has probably been one of the only teams to not cancel games this year.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Definitely.
Paul, 4.4, and just to kind of piggyback off of what Danny was talking about, 4.4 yards per carry right now throughout the first 7 games of the season for the running game. A lot of it has been Tierra King with his legs, right? We've seen a kind of a drop off with Cam Harris and some of the other guys not getting as much playing time. We saw, we saw Don Chaney only get 3 carries last game, whether it was scheme wise or maybe he was hurt. I'm not sure what it was, but it was 3 really solid carries. So it kind of boggled my mind there. What are you seeing out of the running back position? What's your grade on them? And just kind of give me an overall perspective on your grades for the offense.
Running back, I think Danny hit it on the nail. I give him a C plus, but I mean, to me, on top of that, I feel like the O-line hasn't really been able to get a good push. Because there's a lot of factors with the running backs right now too. Like to me, O-line's not getting good enough push. Derek King's kind of been, I don't want to say saving them, but they kind of had him throwing more often too. Because obviously we have talent at running back. Like everyone knows how good Cam Harris is, and we've seen how good Jalen Knight and Don Chaney can be. And to your point, Jazz, like I remember just one of Chaney's carries was like, I think it was like a 12-yard run, and there was one nice cut on that play. Like that looked really smooth. I think that they could easily be a B, but it's I don't know. And plus you got it. Lashley's gonna go with what's hot. If they can't stop if they can't stop the pass game, then he's gonna keep passing it. If like in the UAB game, if they can't stop the run, he'll keep running. So there's a lot of factors there. I don't want to blame the O-line, but O-line's really just not giving them a good push to really create.
What's your grade? Give me a grade on the O-line, because I think that one's kind of been a tricky one, right? Like they started off where you're like, okay, they helped against you over 300 yards rushing, and then they kind of filled off, gave up 4 sacks one game, 5 sacks the other game, and now they're kind of playing a little bit better, where they only gave up 2 or 3 sacks the past couple games, playing a lot better. Is that a product of the O-line getting better? Or is that a product also of Derek King kind of understanding now what he has to do in this offense to kind of hide those deficiencies?
I think it's King, his decision making, being able to get rid of the ball in an ample amount of time. I also think it alludes to new O-line coach Garen Justice and the work he's done. I think the big difference with there's a big difference in coaching as well, just because I think a lot of people mentioned that Butch Berry kind of coached the team as if they were an NFL team, because he has a lot of NFL experience, so he's just used to guys already grasping the concept. But Justice has had plenty of experience in college. I think he did coach under Lane Kiffin for a year, really helped out O-line. Then he went to UNLV. So I feel like the O-line is very equipped now. And then also on top of that, Rhett Lashley's offense is just, I think, a little bit more catered to what the O-line is working with. Like I mentioned, King's getting the ball a lot faster. There's a lot of quick decision making. There's no holding onto the ball too long as well. If King's getting rid of the ball in 3 seconds, I mean, unless you have a defensive end that can run a 4 or 5 or something, they're not going to get to King that quickly.
Right.
Overall, okay, as a grade, I'd probably give them probably a B. It's just nice knowing that my quarterback, like I was saying that, my quarterback is not getting sacked 6 times a game, because you're gonna wonder, like, oh, what if he had the time to throw? Who knows what happened? Like, there's still definitely some work. I think that they're doing a good job protecting King, but I just still want to see a little bit more push in the running game. And if they can really get that push, then you'll really see the full potential of Rhett Lashley's offense, and what it's capable of, and the numbers that it can put up.
Here's the thing, right? It's scary. Jock brings this up. You're probably gonna talk about this, but we haven't even seen the potential of them putting it all together at once. I mean, yeah, FSU, but FSU was a blowout, right? You kind of saw a little bit of that last week, but still the running game was still a little, I mean, a lot of it again was De'Aaron King on some rollouts that he got a lot of yards. But imagine, I mean, if they put it all together, that's an A+, right? Every time, right, Doc?
Yeah.
Yes, I really think. I mean, down the stretch, they're gonna have to put it together. Like I said, that Wake Forest game is a trap game for me.
Yeah, they're not bad. That's not a bad team.
For me, I think that's the trap game. I think Miami's gonna play up to the level of competition this week. Obviously against North Carolina. Maybe that game is for the ACC championship to see who goes. Who knows? Notre Dame has 2 tough games. So let's see. But yeah, if they put it all together, Miami's a top 6 team in the country. I think they're right where they need to be. Obviously, it sucks that Notre Dame won the game, but I think they're right where they need to be, and I think Miami's doing good. I mean, a lot of people should build off this season, and you still have the wild card of De'Aaron King coming back next season. So that's another thing Miami fans have to kind of start grasping the concept around that. This is basically a free year for a lot of kids, and De'Aaron King coming back.
I know, but you got so many Canes fans that the negative Nancy's out there that are already talking about, oh, wait until next year, we're not gonna have a quarterback. Dude, can you freaking enjoy what's going on right now? We're 6-1, right? Like, live in the moment, dude. Like, where the Hurricanes are 6-1, they've got a great quarterback. Like Josh said, come back next year. I mean, he could potentially. There's a real possibility that he comes back next year. And you still got guys. Listen, Tyler Van Dyke is not no slouch, okay? Neither is whoever is going to come in behind him. I'm sure they're going to do. Rhett Lashley is in control of this offense now. He's going to do the recruiting for the quarterback position. I'm okay with it, man. I'm confident that he's going to find the right guy. I know bless you. I know there's a guy out there. Someone was talking about from Rockwell High School or something like that. That's a great gunslinger, but also I don't remember who it was. But yeah.
We got to start accounting, like, Rhett Lashley may not be there next season, though. That's another thing Miami has to kind of wrap their hands around, too.
One season, Jesus.
Just because I feel like he's going to get an offensive coordinator position at a bigger school,
Yeah.
So,
or even head coach for like a mid-major.
Yeah, for like a mid-major. So I just don't see Rhett Lashley being around.
So let me ask you this, though, Jock. Let me ask you this. I know Clemson is a bigger school, but guys like Chad Morris and guys like Tony Elliott or some other guy, Brent Venables, right, who's been at the program for so long, have gotten offers from other schools, mid-majors and in big SEC schools and Pac-12 and all these. Why aren't they leaving? Why are they staying at Clemson?
You gotta think about it, though.
But Miami's paying their coordinator really well now.
That Clemson, though, I think Venables just never wanted to be a head coach. I think he's just comfortable being a defensive coordinator. I mean, they're paying him like a head coach there. He doesn't have that. Like, being a head coach comes with so much more responsibility than being a coordinator.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those guys who want to be head coaches,
Yeah.
like just really, really want to be head coaches.
So
But
do we know that Red Lashley wants?
Tony Elliott will leave after the season at Clemson. But it's also about the jobs that are offering you. Like, you're not gonna go to no shitty program
Marshall,
that
West Virginia.
the shit's not together. Why not? Why not wait? Like Kirby Smart, he waited. He went to Georgia. Kirby Smart waited a long time to get where he wanted to be. So it's just about waiting until your opportunity is there to go to the right situation. Don't go to no school just because they're offering you.
Right. That's why maybe he does stay a little bit, and maybe he does. Do we know that Red Lashley wants to be a head coach? I don't. I'm asking a serious question.
We don't know. Okay, speculation.
He would have left
In
SMU
fairness,
if he wouldn't want to be a head coach, because he could have just stayed there and just been the offensive coordinator and just
yeah.
Maybe that's year. Just give me a couple more years.
Also, I think Clemson does pay their assistants very, like, honestly, they pay them very well. I think Venables, I think, earns at least 7 figures. So it's like they kind of reward their coaches for staying. That's why I feel like that's the stability for there is important, because I think so Justin Ross, he's one of the receivers for Clemson. One of the reasons why he was the number 1 player in Alabama when he came out of high school, and one of the reasons why he picked Clemson over at Bama was because of the stability of coaches. Because Alabama's coaches are kind of a revolving door. I mean, in fairness, they use
Alabama to go to bigger schools. It's okay,
exactly.
though. Like, it's okay, but you got to think about it. Clemson is also more of a family-oriented thing. They're very close-knit there, so that's why they're guys. Like, you look at a guy like Christian Wilkins, who doesn't leave after his junior season, come back for a senior season. Travis Etienne just did the same thing.
Yeah.
So that foundation there, and they probably really, really like being at Clemson. And it's probably not as big of a push. Like, I feel like at Alabama, the LSUs of the world, those guys are getting pushed out the door. Hey, you got a 1st round grade. Let's get up. Like, you need to get out of here. Like, why are you coming back?
Exactly.
Also, $2.4 million.
Who's that?
Exactly.
Venables is making $2.4 million, and Clemson has the highest paid staff in all of college football.
Hey, and on top of that, with the $2.4 million, think about his incentives he probably gets every year.
Yeah.
I think Cristobal at Oregon makes 2.3, and he's head coach, to give you comparison. Also, side note, we mentioned the whole Lashley being here for only a year. Do you remember when Mario Cristobal was tight ends coach here at Miami? That was like a month before he left for Bama. He was here for like a month. He was here for like a month, and then Saban poached him. And Canes fans were not happy about that.
No, they still are.
6 weeks. 6 weeks. He lasted 6 weeks in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I can't even find Red Lashley's pay. How much is his salary? Danny, were you able to find out or no?
$2.4 million.
No, for Red Lashley.
No, for Venables, sorry.
Miami's a private school, so they might not disclose how much he's actually getting paid. So there's also that.
I think you're actually right on that. So, whatever, man. It sucks.
It's tough, but people speak of Lashley highly, and I feel like that is good for Miami. I mean, if he's here for a year, let's enjoy it. Let's just see what they're capable of. I mean, luckily, of Derek King as well. And I mean, let's see if they get a New Year's Eve bowl, maybe even better.
Let's live in the moment. Let's get that New Year's 6 bowl, New Year's 6 a bowl game, and we'll see what happens. Guys, we got pregame on Thursday, pregame on Friday for 12 o'clock game. I'm sorry, preview of Virginia Tech. Unless you guys want to do it, right before the game, it's totally up to you guys. I guess we'll work that out. But for everybody still watching, which is probably like 3 people, stay tuned for for the pregame show as the Canes take on Virginia Tech this Saturday at 12 p.m. on ESPN2. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for holding it down while I had my issues with traffic and reception. So I appreciate that always. And we'll see everybody on Thursday or Saturday. Go Canes! 6 rings.
Go Cobras.
Okay.
Go Cobras, baby! South Miami.